In a world where celebrities are often admired, protected, and elevated to near mythical status, it's easy to forget that fame doesn't grant you immunity from backlash, especially when it involves misusing legal tools against everyday people. Blake Lively, a name once synonymous with charm, elegance, and family-friendly stardom, is now at the center of a firestorm, not for a red carpet moment or a movie premiere, but for a legal maneuver that is being described across the internet as nothing short of a sham. This isn't just a simple lawsuit story. This is the story of a celebrity allegedly using the court system in a way that's left independent creators, many with modest followings, scrambling to protect their rights. And now those very creators are fighting back, and they're doing it with the law on their side. What began as a few seemingly quiet subpoenas to small content creators has exploded into something far bigger than Blake Lively's legal team might have anticipated. These weren't high-powered media outlets or tabloid giants. These were everyday YouTubers, bloggers, and commentators, people just like you and me, sharing thoughts and opinions on what was publicly available court material. No defamation, number threats, no misinformation, just commentary. But then the subpoenas came. Creators were suddenly being asked to provide personal data, communications, and record, some of which went far beyond the videos in question. The legal documents demanded private information that many felt had no real bearing on any underlying case. To many, this felt like a message: stay quiet or deal with the consequences. That message, however, didn't land the way it was likely intended. Instead of silence, the subpoenas sparked resistance. Instead of fear, they ignited unity. And now Blake Lively's team is facing a new legal headache. The creators want to be reimbursed. They want their legal fees covered. They want acknowledgement that the subpoenas were overreaching. And more than anything, they want justice, not just for themselves, but for every independent voice who fears being silenced by a system that favors power over principle. This is a battle between influence and integrity, between a Hollywood machine and the digital frontier, between those who think they can control a narrative and those who refuse to be controlled. Imagine being a small creator passionate about what you do. You wake up one morning to discover that a celebrity's legal team is trying to dig into your content, your data, even your private thoughts. Not because you broke any law, not because you spread lies, but because you dared to speak about a public figure using public documents. Now imagine the fear, the cost, the time, the emotional weight of being dragged into something far beyond your world. That's the story many of these content creators are telling, and it's resonating deeply across the creator community. We're living in an era where online platforms give people a voice, but also expose them to risks when power is misused. For years, the gap between influencers and mainstream celebrities has been closing. But that doesn't mean the playing field is level. When a celebrity uses the court system to demand information from creators without clear cause or justification, it raises critical questions. Is this accountability or intimidation? Is it about justice or control? What makes this story even more compelling is that the creators didn't just complain, they acted. They sought legal representation, they filed responses, they went on record. They made videos explaining what they were going through. And in doing so, they brought the entire internet into the court room with them. Suddenly, this wasn't about one celebrity, it was about every celebrity. About every powerful figure who might ever consider using the legal system to silence criticism. It became about setting a precedent and drawing a line in the sand. And now the consequences of that line being crossed are becoming real. Judges are reviewing the subpoenas. Lawyers are defending creators, and motions are being filed for reimbursement. Real money that these creators had to spend just to protect themselves from legal threats they believe were unjust. This isn't revenge, it's not spite, it's justice. Because when you're a public figure and you decide to challenge the very people who keep the conversation going, the creators who report, react, and reflect on culture, you better be sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Because if not, the backlash may not only ruin your case, it might permanently stain your legacy. Blake Lively now finds herself in unfamiliar territory, not just as an actress under legal scrutiny, but as a cultural symbol of what happens when the powerful underestimate the power of the people. Her silence so far has been deafening, with many questioning whether she'll speak out, explain, or even apologize. But silence in this case may only be adding fuel to the fire. What we're witnessing is bigger than subpoenas. It's a watershed moment for digital creators. It's a warning shot for celebrities who might consider following the same path. And it's a powerful reminder that while the court of law matters, the court of public opinion, especially in the age of social media, can often be just as influential. This story is far from over, but the narrative has shifted. The ones who were once being targeted are now fighting back, and they might just win, not because they're rich, not because they're famous, but because they're right. So as we break this all down, what the subpoena said, what the creators did, and what might happen next, remember this isn't just a celebrity gossip story. This is a battle for fairness, freedom, and the future of creative expression online. Grab your coffee, sit tight, and prepare to dive into one of the most important internet versus Hollywood stories of the year. Because this time it's the creators who are holding the spotlight, and they're demanding that justice be served. The story began when Blake Lively's legal team, amid growing online chatter about her ongoing legal entanglements, filed subpoenas aimed at various content creators. These creators had covered her legal disputes in commentary-based formats, discussing filings, sharing public records, and adding opinions. What seemed like ordinary digital discourse suddenly became legal territory. The subpoenas demanded not only identification information but also any internal communications or unpublished drafts relating to their coverage. For creators who were simply using publicly available documents or repeating verified news, this came as a shock. Critics immediately labeled these subpoenas as invasive, unnecessary, and possibly retaliatory. Legal experts questioned the justification behind targeting creators who weren't directly involved in any case. Was it really about legal strategy, or was it about controlling the narrative? In many cases, the courts have protections for journalists, commentators, and even social media personalities who are simply engaging in public dialogue. To go after them aggressively, especially when they have limited resources, seemed heavy-handed. And that's where things started to unravel. Public opinion turned. Content creators banded together, legal watchdogs took notice, and eventually judges started asking the same question everyone else was: were these subpoenas valid? Or were they a misuse of legal tools? Once the creators began fighting back, the tone of the case shifted. Some filed motions to quash the subpoenas, arguing that they were legally improper and a threat to free expression. Others issued statements detailing how the legal pressure had affected their mental health and their platforms. Some had to pause uploads, cancel collaborations, or even dip into personal savings to afford legal consultations. But what made the biggest impact was unity. Creators began sharing their stories. Viewers, fans, and fellow influencers rallied around them. Legal commentators called out the use of such legal tactics, and soon the court of public opinion was not on Blake Lively's side. And then came the motion that changed everything: requests for reimbursement. One by one, affected creators began asking the court to order Lively's team to cover their legal fees, citing the fact that the subpoenas had no substantial legal basis and that they had suffered financial harm as a result. This wasn't just a bold move, it was a justifiable one. After all, why should small creators bear the burden of defending themselves in a legal battle? They didn't start and didn't deserve. Blake Lively's carefully curated public image, once defined by elegance and philanthropy, is now facing serious scrutiny. While she hasn't personally commented on the backlash, her silence is being interpreted in various ways. Some say it's strategic, others say it shows a lack of accountability. But beyond her image, this case highlights a growing cultural shift: the rejection of celebrity power being used inappropriately. The public is increasingly supportive of transparency, free expression, and fair play. When legal actions appear to cross ethical lines, the backlash is swift and unforgiving. For content creators, this moment may prove to be historic. If courts agree to reimburse them, it sends a clear message: you can't weaponize the court system to suppress commentary. And for celebrities, it could signal a need to reassess how they handle online criticism, not through silencing but through dialogue. As this legal chapter unfolds, all eyes are on the court. Will the judges grant the reimbursement requests? Will Blake Lively's team be held accountable for the ripple effects caused by their aggressive legal approach? Whatever the outcome, the cultural impact is already visible. Viewers, creators, and legal professionals alike are reconsidering how justice should be balanced between power. It's not just about Blake Lively anymore, it's about the kind of digital world we want to build. Do we want a space where creators can question power, analyze news, and express opinions freely? Or do we want a system where even a whisper against the rich and powerful is met with lawsuits and subpoenas? This case has become a mirror reflecting not only the faults in celebrity legal strategy, but also the resilience of independent creators who refuse to be silenced. So as we await the court's decision, one thing is clear: these subpoenas may have started as a show of power, but they may end as a lesson in humility. And in that, maybe, just maybe, the real justice will be served.